Thanks for tuning in to Barbershop Sports Talk.
So first, I got to get this off my chest and talk to you about this. The Ben Simmons drama. Can you just explain how much do you know, how this thing is kind of materialized from the beginning of the season to kind of now as we get closer to this trade deadline?
I think the bottom line is that both sides of this aren't budging. So Simmons' stance for a while here is that he would like to be traded, and then he has also told the Sixers that he is not mentally ready to play. Daryl Morey, the Sixers president of basketball operations, has gone on the record saying he will not trade Simmons for anything less than a, quote, difference maker. And so we wait to see exactly what will happen before the February 10th trade deadline, but it does seem increasingly likely from where I'm sitting that Ben Simmons could still be on this roster even after the deadline. As far as how we got there, it's been a long and winding saga. I guess the most notable developments are the Sixers lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the second round of the playoffs. Simmons had a difficult series with a lot of scrutiny on the fact that he wasn't really taking shots in the fourth quarter of those games. Passed up a dunk in Game 7 against Atlanta. Requested a trade in the offseason, and then he did, after holding out of training camp, show up and participate in a couple of practices, but then was kicked out by Sixers head coach Doc Rivers for refusing to engage. And shortly after that, he told the team he's not mentally ready to participate. And so we've been in this extended standoff where the Sixers have played 40 games. And Ben Simmons, a three-time All-Star who's only 25 years old, has played in 0 of those games.
So, a couple things you said that I think are pretty interesting. First, Ben, you think there's a chance he could still be on the roster after the trade deadline? Like, that's a real possibility?
I do. I think just in large part because the Sixers front office is thus far not shifting its stance that a trade that only nets one or two decent players or anything less than like all-star caliber talent is going to be insufficient. So I think a lot of it depends on exactly what happens in these negotiations with the teams that do have interest in Simmons. But despite the fact that he's a flawed player and that everyone around the league is aware of his weaknesses, the Sixers continue to value him very highly, and they consider him one of the league's best and most versatile defenders, and they know how valuable he is for their transition offense, and they still think he's pretty darn good. So, yeah, it is not impossible that happens, which I know sounds wild on paper, but hey, we've already gone through 40 regular season games and he's still on the roster. So obviously the deadline increases the probability of a deal happening, but I do think it is not unrealistic to think that Simmons could, technically still be a Sixer even post deadline.